So let's talk about a massive legal battle that has almost nothing to do with football salaries or transfer fees, but has everything to do with the future of AI, data privacy, and quite possibly your own business.
It all comes down to this one number, 850. That's how many professional soccer players are involved in a landmark lawsuit over their own data. And, well, it could change the rules for everyone.
So what's going on here? What could possibly get 850 elite athletes to lawyer up together? They're fighting over something you can't even see, something generated by their own bodies that's worth billions of dollars, their personal data.
This whole fight has a name, Project Red Card. And you can think of it like this. They're not showing a red card to another player on the field. They're showing it to an entire industry that was built on using their personal information.
Here's the core of their argument. They're saying that all of their performance data, I'm talking everything from how fast they run to their heart rate, was being collected, bundled up, and sold off to betting companies and video game developers, all without their clear consent and without them seeing a dime. And it gets even stickier than just money. As Udo Onwere, who is both a lawyer and a former player, points out, this is a huge ethical problem. You've got players who, for moral or even religious reasons, would never want to be associated with gambling. Yet their own performance data is being used to power the very industry they oppose.
Okay, so to really get what they're fighting for, we have to look at how a player's every move on the field is literally turned into a commercial product. Let's follow the data.
And look, the amount of data we're talking about is just mind-blowing. In a single top-level match, sophisticated tracking systems are capturing 25 data points every single second for every single player. That's one of the most intense human monitoring systems you'll find anywhere outside of a military operation.
So here's how that pipeline works. The data is captured right there on the pitch. Then, big data firms just hoover it all up in bulk. From there, it gets licensed and sold off to betting companies, who use it to power the massive multi-billion-dollar live betting industry. And the people actually generating all that value, the players themselves, they were completely cut out of the loop.
This is where the law kicks in, and it's a huge deal. Under regulations like GDPR, things like biometric and health data are called special category data. You can just think of that as the most sensitive, most private information there is. And to process it, you need explicit, fully informed consent. The players are basically saying, hey, we never gave that consent for this.
You know, when you boil it all down, this is a story we've seen over and over again. The technology to capture and sell data moved at lightning speed, while the rules and the ethics of how to govern it got left way, way behind. And that, right there, is where this whole story pivots from the football pitch and walks directly into your office.
Because what happened to these 850 footballers? It's like a giant, flashing preview of a silent crisis that's happening inside so many businesses right now. It's the problem of shadow AI.
I mean, just look at this comparison. It's almost a perfect mirror image. The footballers had their work data, their performance stats, processed by third parties without proper consent. In your business, your employees might be pasting sensitive client details or financial info into public AI tools without any real governance. In both cases, the employer, the club or your company, is left with this huge, dangerous governance gap.
And that's what we call shadow AI. And listen, this isn't about employees trying to be malicious. It's almost always driven by good people just trying to be more productive and get their work done. But it's enthusiasm without guardrails, and that creates a massive liability.
So let's talk about that liability. Because when something goes wrong, it's not the employee who clicked paste, and it's not the AI vendor who's on the hook. At the end of the day, the responsibility falls on you, the business owner. This is the one point you absolutely cannot miss. Under data protection laws like GDPR, the primary legal responsibility falls on the data controller. Now, that's just a legal term for the organization that decides how and why data is being used. And in the context of your business, that is always you, the employer.
And believe me, this isn't just a theoretical risk. We've all seen the headlines. Remember that incident at Samsung? Their own engineers pasted confidential, proprietary source code into the free, public version of ChatGPT. That is a textbook example of shadow AI in the wild. Well-meaning employees creating a potentially catastrophic data breach because the right policies just weren't there.
This is why understanding the specific tools you're using is so critical. So many people don't realize that the free consumer-grade AI tools often use your data, the stuff you type in, to train their future models. That's the default setting. To truly protect your business data, you have to be using business-level accounts like team or enterprise plans. That's where you get the legal data processing agreements and the admin controls you need to keep your company's information safe.
Okay, so the takeaway here is not fear. It's not about paralysis or banning technology. Project Red Card is a huge warning, yes, but it also gives us a clear roadmap for how to respond. It's all about moving from being unaware to taking simple, direct action.
And that action can start with something as simple as a one-page document, your company's AI acceptable use policy. It just needs to answer 5 basic questions. 1. What tools are we officially approved to use? 2. Which account levels are required? 3. What kind of company data is completely off-limits for these tools? 4. How does an employee get a new tool approved? And 5. Have we confirmed in writing that all the privacy and data training settings are locked down?
And let me just be crystal clear, this is not about stopping progress or banning powerful tools. It is the exact opposite. It's about building a safe bridge, a simple framework so that your team can innovate with confidence, all while protecting your clients, your employees, and your business.
Which brings us right back to the beginning. The core principles at the heart of Project Red Card, we're talking consent, transparency, and clear boundaries. Those are the exact same principles you need to apply to data governance inside your own organization.
The footballers have made the question of data governance impossible to ignore. They've done the hard, expensive work of putting it on the front pages for everyone to see. So the only question left is, when someone inevitably asks about your data policy, will you have an answer ready?